A lot of people talk about Chase cards, and given that this is a financial YouTube channel and I've talked to a lot of you guys, and most of you guys are just getting into the financial game and learning about how a lot of this stuff works, and have seen probably a couple videos that I've done about credit cards and credit card churning and how to get free points and free hotel stays and free travel, but there are some things that you should be aware of. In my last video, I did talk a lot about getting some new cards, including my new Chase card that I just got over a couple weeks ago. But one of the things you have to be aware of is that there is a limit on the amount of cards you can get, in particular from Chase, because their algorithms work in particular ways where if you get too many cards, you might be denied for getting another card in the future. Welcome back to Wrestling with Finance, the YouTube finance channel for people who have wrestled with finance in the past and want to do better with it in the future. And today we're going to talk about what is known as the 524 rule for Chase Bank and the Chase credit cards. And after you get this, you'll probably have a little bit more understanding of how this works. This has been talked about by a few other YouTubers. Some have gone in depth with it. Some have given a shallow overview of it. For this channel and for this audience, we're going to get into some fine details, not into all of the tricks and trades that you can do to get around it. Because again, a lot of you guys are probably either starting out on your credit card journey and rebuilding your credit, or you're probably doing this in order to get those free points for free travel and everything else that I've been talking about. So if you're new to this game, stay tuned for this. If you already know a little bit about this, you might want to watch this video anyway and stay tuned until the end, because at the end I'll have some fine details that you may want to consider if you're already in the credit card journey, collecting points from credit cards, or you're trying to rebuild your credit and want to keep applying for Chase cards. So one initial question is, why do people apply for so many Chase cards? Well, Chase, typically among all the credit card issuers, is probably top tier. They have a lot of different credit cards for a lot of different ranges, for a lot of different people, for a lot of different purposes. And because of that, and the sweet bonus deals that they give you, where some cards can give you multiple points and huge multipliers on the amount of money that you spend, and you get more money back and cash back or points, they are the premier card that a lot of people want. In fact, the Chase Freedom cards, the Chase Flex cards, the Sapphire Preferred cards, the Sapphire Reserve card, the Ink card, all of those cards are highly sought after by a lot of people, especially people who are in the credit card game. But you may run into the 524 rule, and some of you may be asking, what the hell is the 524 rule? Well, it is a rule for Chase Bank that if you apply for the credit card and they look on your credit statement and they see on your credit statement that you have accepted 5 credit cards within the last 24 months, that would be 2 years, of course, then they will automatically deny you from getting any card that you're applying for. Now, we have to be very clear about this, because some people think that if you've taken out a loan or anything else, that this accounts for everything. What it does count for is what it says. If you've accepted any credit card over the last 24 months, and if there are more than 5 or more of them, then you're going to be denied to get a new Chase card that you apply for. This does not count mortgages. This does not count auto loans or any personal loan or anything like that. Those don't count towards this. It doesn't count if you get denied from a card. Again, it's if you accept 5 or more credit cards within the last 24 months. Now, there are some exceptions to this, of course. There's exceptions to every rule, and I did mention the Chase Ink Preferred card before. Now, for business cards like this, they don't count the business cards typically towards this 524 rule, because business cards are not personal cards. Now, there are some exceptions to that exception, and those include any business cards from TD or any business cards from Capital One, but usually any other business card that you would have outside of those issuers, if you have those, they're not usually included as part of your personal cards, and again, it's a 5 personal card limit. However, there's a weird one that does count, which is financing cards. So if you have a financing card, then that does count towards your credit card, because it's, again, considered a personal credit card that you're given. It's a personal credit from a bank issuer, from a credit issuer that you've accepted, that you use as a card, that you use for purchases. So they do count those in along with any personal credit cards that you have towards that 524 rule. Now, there are a bunch of people out there who have not heard of the 524 rule. In fact, I didn't hear about it until about a year and a half ago when I started looking into this stuff. And one of the things you have to consider with that is not only are there a lot of consumers who don't know about the 524 rule, There are a lot of customer service reps for Chase Bank that don't know about the 524 rule. So it is very possible for you to call up Chase and go, hey, what about this 520 rule? Is this going to affect me? And the customer service rep might not have any idea what you're talking about. And then you're going to come back and look at my video and go, that guy made up some stuff. No, I did not. What you do have to keep in mind is a lot of people that do customer service for a lot of these credit card issuers and banks, they are basically trained, and I know because I did some of this stuff in my younger years. You're basically trained with a script that you have to basically read off certain things, and there's certain questions that they're going to be asked. And they're looking for more stuff like people asking about getting a new credit limit, or whether or not they qualify for something, or how many hard inquiries are on their credit card have been on their credit card for the credit report, and they're not asking about like really fine details like something like a 524 rule. So if again, this is just a warning, if you call up Chase and you try to ask a customer service rep, you may run into the fact that they might not have any clue what you're talking about, which is one of those cases where you know more than the people who are supposed to be the experts, but that's just the way it is. Again, remember, there's a lot of those people they have, and most of their questions that they're answering are basic consumer questions and not really fine detail questions like what the 524 rule is. Now, product changes don't count for this either, and some people have asked this question, and I've seen this around in all the different Reddit boards and so on and so forth, is people ask if they change the product, does that count towards the 524 rule? Now, say if you have a Chase Sapphire Reserved and you change to the Chase Sapphire Preferred, so it's the same account, but you just changed the product that you're using with that account. Because you haven't opened up a new account, it does not count towards that 524 rule. In fact, if you downgrade or upgrade from your cards, unless you're closing out the old card that you have or the bank closes out the old account, it doesn't count towards that 524. Another thing you might want to consider is that Chase is not the only bank that does this. Now, different credit card companies have their own sort of algorithms or rules as to how many credit cards you can hold or have acquired over a course of a period of time for whether or not they're going to deny you for your credit card. So you probably want to go check the fine details or call up the companies themselves. Again, customer service is probably not the person you want to talk to. You probably want to do a deeper dive into that to find out if a credit card that you're applying for has any rules like the 524 rule from Chase. But a lot of them have their own different rules, and again, it just depends on the bank you're using. What is the purpose of this? Why have a 524 rule? Why is there a rule that can only get but so many credit cards? Well, given the fact that their credit card churning technique has become popular, and I've mentioned this in other videos, there are people who do manufacturer spending and a lot of kind of weird stuff to try to game the system. This is a way for Chase to kind of avoid this, because if you're somebody, plus it's also a way for them to avoid somebody who's just getting a lot of credit because they want to spend a lot of money, because there are people that do that. They rack up a bunch of credit cards just to afford some sort of expensive lifestyle, and they're just going to max out that credit card, then get another one and max out that one and get another one and max out that one. So that's bad for the banks and the credit card companies. That actually isn't a good thing when you max out your credit card, because what they eventually have to do is send that account, if you're 30, 60, 90, 120 days past due of making any kind of payments on it, and they have to send it to a collections agency, which basically means they might not ever receive that money that you owe them. They're going to sell it to a collections agency. The collection agency is going to pay to purchase that account and the collection on that account for pennies on a dollar for what your actual balance is. So that is a loss for them. So they don't really want that. They don't really want somebody who's not going to pay their debts, or at least even pay the minimum. And they look at it as if somebody who's applying for multiple credit cards is probably somebody that might be maxing out these cards, and they don't want to do that. And that's why rules like the 520 rule exist, just for the banks and the credit card issuers to protect themselves against fraud. There's other little techniques and tricks that people do out there by applying for multiple credit cards and doing switcheries and all this other stuff. There's a whole, it might be a video for another day, but a whole topic about some of the things that you should not consider doing if you're going to get into this credit card game and try to increase their credit limit to untold amounts, because there is a benefit in having all of these points and having all these airline points and miles and free hotel nights and cash back on this and cash back on groceries and cash back on that, and you get free this. I got so much free stuff for my credit cards right now, I don't even use half of it sometimes. But there is an abuse to that some people can do to the system. There are some things that some of these companies consider to be abuse. So that probably will be a video I'll do later on, maybe this month or maybe next month, about some traps that you might hear from other places and you might considering doing that I might want to warn you off of doing. Most of you probably aren't going to have to worry about this 524 rule. I am just letting you guys know about this because it is something to be aware of, because some people out there might try to rack up a lot of points very quickly, and you should be aware of this, that if you try to apply for a Chase card and say you got 3 cards last year and you got 2 cards this year, that if you go apply for a Chase card, they're probably going to deny you based on the fact that you've gotten 5 cards within the last 24 months. So my suggestion, again, is always to try to space them out. Try to not collect too many cards in a time frame. Maybe you want to get your Chase cards first and then get the other cards that don't have that 524 rule. That's another way of doing it. But again, just keep in mind, the basic thing is if you have received 5 cards or more within 24 months, very simple, 2-year time period, Chase will most likely deny any applications you have until you've crossed that threshold and that period of time has passed. I want to know if you guys have run into the 524 rule. Anybody out there who watches this video, have you run into the 524 rule? What happened to you? Are you consistent in keeping mindful of this? And for those of you newbies, what cards are you looking for? Are you looking to get the Chase Freedom card or the Chase Sapphire cards or the Chase Ink Reserve cards? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until then, I do appreciate it if you guys hit the like button. Again, trying to grow this channel. We're almost up to the monetization point, so I do appreciate it. And also check down in the description box for a lot of free goodies. Speaking of Chase cards, I have an offer right now in the description box. So you can get up to 60,000 points for free in your first 3 months by meeting the minimum spend by getting the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve card. Now, again, keep in mind, you only want to be buying the stuff that you normally buy, but since the spending limit over a 3-month period is about $3,000 to $4,000, most people spend that much just on groceries within a 3-month period of time, so you probably will qualify. But check out those deals down below, read up on them, and if you feel that it's right for you, I suggest using those links down below and signing yourself up and getting some of those free points. But until next time, I will see you guys here for more of these reviews, credit card videos, stock market videos, crypto videos, all kinds of stuff about personal finance right here on Wrestling with Finance. Have a good day.